The Suzuki VZ800 or M50 or Intruder 800, depending on where you are and what year range you're talking about, that's the topic for today's video. So hang out with me for a few minutes and let's get into it. What's up everyone? It's Alex. Today we're talking about the Suzuki model VZ800, or better known as the M50 or Intruder M800, depending on what part of the world you're in. This has been pretty heavily requested, so I decided it was finally time to get into it. Real quick before I forget, if you like the video, you like what's going on here, hit like. If you haven't already, subscribe, because it tells you what kind of stuff to keep making for you guys. If you dislike the video, hit dislike, do all that kind of stuff. Leave me a comment below so at least I know I got some kind of response out of you. So for the purpose of most of today's video, we're going to focus on the modern fuel-injected iteration of the VZ800, which in North America is more commonly known as the Boulevard M50, and from what I understand, the rest of the world, it's the Intruder M800. We will lightly touch on the previous carbureted version, so stick around, but we're going to mostly focus on the modern iteration of this motorcycle. So the current form of the Suzuki model VZ800, or in North America, Boulevard M50, elsewhere, Intruder 800, is an 805cc fuel-injected, liquid-cooled, V-twin engined motorcycle, sporting a 5-speed transmission and a shaft final drive, produced from 2005 until 2019, at least for the North American market. I am not sure whether they continue production outside North America, but as far as North America goes, it looks like 2019 was the last year for that motorcycle. And it had a fairly significant redesign in 2010, which we will touch on. And just real quick, the North American designation of M50 goes along with Suzuki's Boulevard line of making model names to more correlate with the cubic inch size of an engine. So whereas the 800 or 805cc engine, in cubic inch terms, that equates to roughly almost 50 cubic inches. So along with the C50 or the classic 50 in the lineup, they went with M50 to correlate with the cubic inch size of the engine, because they felt that North American riders would relate better to that than VZ800 or 800 Intruder, etc., as it had previously been. So in 2005, the M50 or M800 replaced the previous Suzuki 800 Marauder from 1997 until 2004, which was a similar idea of a motorcycle. It was again the more muscle-oriented companion to the old 800 Volusia that was produced prior to the C50. And the M50 or M800 was simply a modernized, fuel-injected, updated version of the old 800 Marauder. A very different motorcycle in a lot of ways from the ground up, but very similar in idea to the 800 Marauder. So if you're looking at M50s, you're looking at M800s, and you want an even less expensive carbureted motorcycle, you can also look for a VZ800 Marauder or an 800 Marauder, as that was a similarly themed motorcycle but carbureted and a little bit older design. So what is the more modern fuel-injected VZ800 in a nutshell? What is the M50 or the Intruder M800? Where does it fit in the motorcycle world? Well, basically it is a more muscle-oriented and different styled companion to the C50. It fits that same middleweight, middle ground in Suzuki's lineup of having that 800cc-ish engine with a shaft drive on it to fit a lot of different kinds of riders. But the M50 takes the classic styling, etc., of the C50 or the VL800 and turns it into a little bit more muscle-oriented, or however you want to call it, type of a motorcycle. They put inverted front forks on it and they changed the styling to make it a little bit less classic cruiser and a little bit more drag bar setup, muscle-oriented muscle cruiser type of motorcycle. So they put drag bars on it, they put different shorter, smaller fenders on it, they put a different tank on it. As I already mentioned, they put inverted forks on it, which I believe the Marauder actually had inverted forks as well. They basically just set the whole thing up to look a little more modern, muscly, less classic, and when you sit on it, they don't feel as relaxed and as cruiser oriented. With the drag bars and the difference of where they put the foot pegs versus the floorboards on the C50, it does feel a little bit different. You lean forward a little bit more on it, you sit a little bit more upright as opposed to a little bit less of the relaxed cruiser position on it. Otherwise, very similar motorcycle to a C50. Power-wise, transmission-wise, all of that is very, very similar to a Suzuki C50 or VL800 if you want to go by Suzuki's model code for that. So from 2005 until 2010, you had the first generation of the M50 or Intruder M800 that had one specific design look. And then after 2010, they changed the design up to look more like Suzuki's other M series Boulevard cruisers, more like the M90 and the M109. They gave it a very similar rear fender and a similar headlight shroud, etc., to bring it more in line with the styling of those bikes in the lineup. I'm also pretty sure Suzuki didn't ship any of these to North America in 2010 because they had so many 2009 motorcycles left over during the recession period, so I don't think you're going to find a 2010 M50 for North America. I could be wrong, but I have never seen one, and I worked for a Suzuki dealer at the time and we couldn't order them. So I'm going to say on the redesign, you're probably looking at 2011 and up if you're lucky as far as that goes for North America. So all in all, I've ridden dozens of these motorcycles in the M50 form and also in the Marauder form before it. This is a very good, capable middleweight motorcycle that falls in line very well with the purpose of the C50 as far as the motorcycle world goes. It is a good, mid-sized, capable motorcycle that will basically do anything that a cruiser rider wants to do, also without being overwhelming. Now, this motorcycle really is not truly amazing at anything, but it is good enough at a lot of different things, and you can usually find them at very reasonable prices, and they tend to basically run forever. It will have some of the same little quirks as a C50 will, so you can go back and watch my C50 video because they use the same basic power plant, etc. But all in all, just like with the C50s, or the VL800, whatever you want to call it, a VZ800, M50, Marauder M800, whatever you want to call it, these are very good, solid 800cc V-twin motorcycles with a shaft drive on them. They're very, very difficult to tear up. They handle well for what they are. They have enough power to do what you want to do. They don't have so much power that more of a novice to intermediate rider will have any problems with it whatsoever. And they just tend to basically keep working and riding just as long as you want them to with proper maintenance. So it's a perfectly good motorcycle in the mid-size cruiser world if you want something that's not quite so classic. Like if you're looking at C50s or maybe even V-Star 1100s, V-Star 650s, Honda Shadows, if you're looking at a lot of those kind of motorcycles, but you want something that looks a little bit less classic and maybe a little bit more muscly or just something that looks and feels a little bit different, especially with the drag bars on it, try one out. Sit on one, go for a ride on one, see what you think. Very, very good competitor for something like a 750 Shadow or the Yamahas that I mentioned, or like a Kawasaki 900. Very, very good comparison to like a Vulcan 900 Custom. Although I think the Vulcan 900 Custom is a stronger, more powerful motorcycle. If you sit on both of them, usually you're going to like one or the other. So if you like the way that an M50 feels more than a Vulcan 900, then it's an obvious choice. But try one out, sit on one, see what you think. All in all, I'm pretty positive on these motorcycles. They're a very, very good, last forever, get it done kind of a mid-size cruiser when it all boils down to it. There's nothing inherently wrong with them. There's nothing particularly like overall amazing about them, but for a lot of people, that's what they like about it, is it's just a very good, just get it done and don't have to worry about it kind of a motorcycle, okay? I hope that answered your questions on them. I hope that helped, guys. As always, if you have any questions, comments, leave them in the comments below. Let's have a discussion about it. Do you have an M50? Do you have a VZ800 Marauder? Let me know what you think. Are you looking at one? Do you hate them? Do you hate me? Put your comments below. Let's have a discussion. As always, guys, have a great day. Ride safe. I'm Alex. Peace.